So first of all, we need to create an animation controller with Mario, similar to the cloud, to add the animation. So we'll do just that. So let me turn this off. I'll go back to my Mario, and I'll add a animation controller on the same level as the sprite renderer. So I'll add a animator in here, and in here I'll create a new animation controller. Right? So I'll go to my animations and create a new controller. Okay, to save a little bit of time, I've applied the same principles to create Mario's animation as with the enemy. So okay, so I create a new animation controller and I name it player controller, and I'll assign it to Mario. Right? Player controller to Mario. Right. Since we are going to be using physics, we will click on animate physics, right? Since we are using rigid bodies, so that's always good to check. Now, same thing as with the enemy, we will now open animation tab. So we'll go to Window, Animation, and we will create a couple animations. First one will be the idling animation, and the second one will be the run animation. Okay, so we create a new one, and then we'll name this one Mario idle. Okay, and what we do, we will use an animation sheet. I already have imported the animation sheet for Mario, which I've processed similarly to the animation sheet of the cloud of the enemy. So it's in my done folder and Mario. And as we see, I have a lot of look down here. I have a lot of different animations for a lot of different sprites for Mario. So what I'll do, I will now take the idle animation of Mario. This is a bit better visible now if I'll just parent this in here, and this gives me a bit better overview of the animations. So my idle animation will be these 4 frames, right? Which I'm pretty happy with. Okay, so this is my idle animation. Then I will save this, and I'll set the frames, for example, to 12 frames per second, which should be enough. Now I will create a new animation, which will be the run animation. So let's name it Mario Run. And similar to that, I'll find steps of the running animation, which would be this one all the way until this one. Right, so that's my run animation. Again, 12 frames per second. This is great. And then the last animation that I'll create will be jump animation. And I'll just use one frame, so it's not even an animation, right? So I'll just use this image as animation for Mario. Okay. There may be in the sheet there is something better. So let's just look at it. So these are the different steps. This is the run animation that I have used. This is the idle animation that I have used. This could be the second idle animation, which looks also kind of alright. And then I've used alright, so let's actually use these 2 frames for my animation, for my jump animation. Alright, so let's just find them in here. Get rid of this one. So I'll delete this one, and then I'll just have to find where they are. It's these 3, these 2. And how would it look? I'll just use this one. You can play with it a bit later, okay? Alright, so these are the 3 animations that I just created. I'm quite happy with them. And now I need to work on my animation controller, right? So I go to my animator, and I see automatically 3 different animations were added. And I will now create a new variable called speed. And the idea is that I will be supplying a speed value, which means how fast the Mario is moving. And if that speed value is bigger than 0, right, then means that I want to play run animation. And if the current speed is 0, I will play a idle animation, right? So I'll create the 2 transitions in here. And as well, I will create a new Boolean value, which means if I'm jumping, well, actually let's name it a bit better. Let's name it in air. So I'll delete this one, and I'll create a new Boolean variable in air, which means that Mario is currently in the air, right? So that will be easy to detect. So I'll be just detecting if Mario is currently colliding with something. If Mario is not colliding with anything, that means he's currently in air. So I'll play the jump animation, which will look quite good when, for example, Mario will be falling from one platform to another, and also the jump animation. Well, this falling animation will play. Okay. All right. So and I'll need to make a transition in here and back, and also transition from here and transition. Sorry, so transition only from here, right? So from idle I can go to run, and run to idle. From run I can go to jump, but after jump I'll just go back to idle. Now I need to set my properties, right? So the condition in here would be that if speed is greater than 0.01, I will be playing the run animation. If speed will be less than 0.01, then I will go to idle. But if my in-air variable is true, I go to jump, and same for here, right? So if my in-air animation, in-air variable is set to true, I go to jump. Otherwise, I go, if in-air is false, I go back to idle, right? A couple other things I need to tweak. I say that these animations have no exit time, so basically they will stop playing immediately as this variable is set. So there is no wait time. So this goes for all of them, right? If there would be an exit time, then it would wait a little bit until the first animation will finish playing, and then it would transition to the other one. With no exit time, the animation immediately triggers to the next one. All right, so I'll just disable it for all of them. And then I can see the animation playing in here. So that's going from jump to idle. Then from, this is my run animation to idle. Right, so I'm quite happy with that, right? So my animation controller is ready. So the last thing that I need to do is basically fire this animation controller with my Mario controller, right? So with the Mario controller, when I press space, I want to jump in the air, and I want to also handle the running animation. So let me first write the code, and then I'll discuss all my changes. Okay, there are quite a few changes that I've done with the controller, so let's just go over them. First, we have the previously known parameter for maximum speed, and it is the only one, maximum speed. Now the new parameters are the jump height, that means how high can character jump. Then I've added a new layer mask saying what exactly is the ground. This helps us to detect when character lands on the ground, right? So we will basically launch the jumping animation when character leaves the ground, and then play the idle or down animation when character hits the ground. Then I've added a parameter called air control handicap. That means that when character jumps, he or she can still control the player, but not in the same way as on the ground, so there is some handicap in a movement in the air. And then some private parameters for saying if the character is actually currently on the ground, reference to rigid body animator, and then a boolean flag saying that if the character is currently jumping. Right. In the beginning, we find references to the rigid body and animator. Nothing really special. Then, here where the magic happens, right? First we have our update function, in which all we detect is if the jump button was pressed. We do this in an update function so that we are 100% sure that we do not miss the jump button press, right? Update is executed every single frame, so update never misses anything. Fixed update is related to physics, right? Fixed update is executed at very specific intervals so that physics engine can know when to execute specific routines. So fixed update can skip some frames, right? So it can also skip the frame when user has pressed the space. So in fixed update, we will deal only with the physical stuff. One of the physics related stuff is reading what arrow has user pressed, right? I'm using this cross-platform input manager so that we can easily port this to mobile devices. And we read if user has pressed left or right arrow, just like before. Then I set that I assume that character is on the ground. These 4 lines, basically detect that from the starting position around a specific radius, I'm detecting if I'm overlapping ground, right? So you can imagine I point at a specific point in space, and I say if there is a ground within 0.2 meter radius around that circle, right? If there is, it will return me the list of colliders around that point. And then all I have to do is browse through all those colliders, and if that collider is not the object itself, because object can collide with itself, I'm saying that the character is safely on the ground. I set the animator parameter to grounded that the character is on the ground, and then I call my move routine, in which I specify the parameter how much do I move and if I'm jumping, and then all I said that okay, I just reset the jumping routine. Now in the movement, it's very simple. I am moving only if I'm on the ground, or if I have a load air control handicap, right? If I disable air control handicap, the moment the user presses the space, character cannot be controlled anymore. Then I set the velocity of the moving object in relation to what the user has pressed, right? So left or right arrow. Then parameter which says what is the maximum speed of the player, and then I can apply the air control handicap, right? So if I'm on the ground, no handicap. If I'm not on the ground, I apply the air control handicap, right? So I multiply this value. Then I tell the animator what is the speed, and then I'm doing also the very same routine as with the enemy. So if I'm moving right, I'm playing the regular animation. If I'm going left, I will flip the player so that it looks that it's pointing left or right. And then the very last thing that remains is the code which tells me, okay, if I'm on the ground and I'm requesting jump and the animation jump is not yet playing, I will add specific. I will tell, okay, play the animation for jumping, and then add a specific force from below going up, right? So the jump height. So the vector 2 saying in the X direction, I want no force be applied, but I want to apply force from below, which is the jump height. Okay, so let's check out how the game now behaves. Let's maximize this. And when we play, we see the animation executing very nicely. We have a nice running Mario. When we press jump, the character jumps. I can control Mario in the air. Right? And one of the nice perks that we get when we just let Mario fall, also the falling animation, which is the same as jumping animation, is being played. Right? Perfect.